Guys, I'm back. Did you miss me? Because I missed you. Are you ready to keep talking about Elizabeth's hard hair, Jane's loveliness, and Mr. Darcy making a strong comeback? Coming up is a confession I didn't see coming, a certain letter that brought much needed light, and we get to know where Mr. Bingley vanished to and why. Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Books with Iman. I'm Iman, obviously, 21, med student and a professional talker. I express my opinions as if my life depended on it. And I invite you to join me in the comments. Let's chat, let's be friends, let's connect. This is Pride and Prejudice GenZfied Part 2. So, Mr. Bingley left his Netherfield estate and went back to London, leaving our poor Jane heartbroken over his indifference. She thought sparks were flying and a proposal was coming, but something happened that made all those hopes vanish. Therefore, she decides to stay at her uncle's estate to flee her mother's nagging and to get over Mr. Bingley. Elizabeth, after the announcement of Mr. Collins' marriage, her cousin, to her dear friend Charlotte Lucas, was left feeling shocked and betrayed. But months of correspondence with the new Mrs. Collins has warmed her heart, and she is set to visit them in their new home. They make a stop at the gardener's home, her mother's brother and his wife, and that's when Lizzy and her dear aunt discuss Mr. Wickham. Remember guys, he is the new officer that claims to be stabbed in the back by Mr. Darcy out of jealousy. At first he was leaning towards Lizzy and entertaining a possible connection, but his head was turned for Miss King, who is said to inherit her grandfather's fortune after he died. Mrs. Gardiner is like, Lizzy, dear, this Wickham guy is a walking red flag. Are you blind? Don't you think it's weird that he switched on you so fast because he heard Miss King has money? And Elizabeth is like, oh shush dear aunt, what are you talking about? He's no player. He has the right to look for a woman with prospect who could improve his social status. Okay, I see what you're doing, dear Lizzy. Boo-hoo, your ego is hurt from that cheese-storable comment Mr. Darcy said, and you just can't let it go. I mean, I wouldn't either, but Mr. Wickham is no saint. Girl, wake up. He's playing you and everybody to gain sympathy and value by association. She continues her voyage to Mr. Collins' home, and when she arrives, all that the Collins would talk about is Lady Catherine this, Lady Catherine that. And by the way, Mr. Collins is Lady Catherine's clergyman. He lives on her property. That's how they know each other. He's like, yo, dude, don't let your jaw hit the floor when you see her new estate, like there's a whole room as big as my house. And by the way, Lizzy cuz, don't feel embarrassed if you look inferior. Just wear your best dress and look presentable. I mean, Lady Catherine likes the distinction of rank preserved. Like what? Collins, honey, did proximity to power make you think you yielded? Did social status and wealth by association make you forget who you are? I don't understand why he takes so much pride in knowing Lady Catherine. It's like her success makes up for his inferiority in intellect and in rank. They have dinner with her ladyship. Sir Williams, Charlotte's father, and Maria, his sister, were scared as wet kittens in the winter at the sight of all this wealth and the grandeur of these women. Elizabeth was like, okay, whatevs. She is confident in herself. She doesn't equate importance with titles and money, but rather with manners and with what the mind has to offer. Lady Catherine asked her, do you play instruments, dear? A little, Lizzy said. Do you draw? None of us girls do. What? Okay. What does your governess say about that? We don't have one. Lady Catherine was speechless. She says, oh, okay. At least tell me that your younger sisters aren't out in society before the older ones are married. Okay, I don't know where I took this accent to, but just don't comment on it, okay? Don't comment. Lizzy says, well, I hate to break it to you, but they are. It's so funny to think that these ideas were so out of the norm, so out of order. Feminism has come a long way. Maybe too far away that we started to regress a little. I mean, OnlyFans is now cool. I don't know how sex work became the new it thing. Being naked means you love yourself. How we convinced women of that, I don't know. The death of the nuclear family has stormed the world, and nobody can define a woman anymore. It's so sad to witness that it became kind of funny of how absurd it is. Oh my gosh, so what? Why take such a sharp pivot, Iman? We were just talking about Jane Austen's work. Why you gotta make it all political and insert some controversial opinions? Well, let me explain why. Books to me are never just fun. Sure, they're entertaining and I love them, but they are a mirror to life, to society. A good book always scratches our brains, makes us reflect. One of my goals with these videos is not just to make you fall in love with reading, but to encourage your overthinking side. I crave conversations. Let's debate. Convince me otherwise. Bring your arguments, I'll bring mine, and let's talk. Let's talk books with you men. Let's talk life with you men. Back to our story, for we have a grand entry waiting. While Elizabeth was staying at her friend's home, Lady Catherine's nephew, aka Mr. Darcy, enters the chat. It's like the commentator on Love Island that is like, a new bombshell enters the villa. And oof, guys, we get a delicious conversation between the two. Elizabeth was playing the piano with Colonel Fitzwilliam, Mr. Darcy's cousin, and by the looks of it, Darcy got jealous, and he moved in closer to watch her perform. And that's when she looks at him and says, "Are you trying to frighten me, Mr. Darcy? You know I don't scare easily." He's like, "I'm not going to argue with you and say you're mistaken, because I've known you long enough to believe that anything I say you will not believe." She laughs and says, "Do not make me retaliate, Mr. Darcy. I've got dirt on you I can dig up that will shock your relations." He then looks at her and says, "I'm not afraid of you." Guys, do you see the sparks flying, or am I hallucinating them? Mr. Darcy is attempting to flirt with Miss Bennet, and bless his heart, he's just too shy and too awkward to say anything. When they sometimes accidentally meet for walks, he takes the time to ask her about her hobbies, how attached she is to home, how she's enjoying her stay here at Kent. Because remember, Mr. Darcy is the type of person who falls in love with good conversation and personality over status and looks. And Elizabeth, poor thing, is just like, why is this alien person whom I can never understand talking to me? Mrs. Collins picks up on Darcy's little remarks and says to Lizzy, maybe he loves you and all. And Elizabeth is like, delusional is what you are, dear friend. Which makes me reflect on modern society. 200 years ago, men were very intentional with their words and their actions. It was easier to read them, to know if they are into you or not. Today, these boys throw compliments and flirtations like it's nothing. They also be throwing their hands and acting like they're married to you, but then call it a situationship. The dating world of this day and age is so confusing. And I'm not going to throw shade just on men. Girls are becoming players too. And I'm so confused by the Western culture of, let's have a child together, but marriage, oh no, that's too much of a commitment. We are falling astray from what used to be normal. This book is so depressing, y'all. I fear I will die an old maid. My standards are too high and I just don't believe in dating in general. Can I go back to the Regency Era, secure myself a man, and then get back to you? No, I can't. Lawzubia it is then. And then, on a walk, Lizzy meets with Colin Fitzwilliam, the cousin, and she asks him if they are set on leaving Kent this Saturday. And he's like, well, yeah, but only if Darcy doesn't put it off again. Oh my god, can you get a hint? The man is in love, in the quietest way possible, sure, but still. I just fear that my guy is gonna get his heart broken. Mr. Darcy, it's okay. I'll hold your hand when it happens. Well, I won't actually, astarghfirullah. But it's a figure of speech, guys. God understands. And here it comes, guys. With ache in my heart, I tell you that Mr. Darcy finally sums up the courage to talk to Miss Elizabeth about his feelings. And he has chosen the worst possible time ever. Because yesterday, she found out that Mr. Darcy was the one behind Mr. Bingley's sudden departure. The one who had a thing with her sister Jane. Mr. Darcy's cousin tells her that it was Darcy who told Mr. Bingley to let go of the connection and seek another. To make matters worse, during his grand confession, he dwells on her inferiority, her lack of rank, and her family obstacles. He's like, I love you despite my reason, despite my character, and despite my will. What? Darcy, dear, I'm trying to convince the internet that you're a dream, not a goddamn nightmare. She responds with, sir, I'm flattered, but I never decided a good opinion, so it's a no from me. And he makes the mistake of saying, that's all I'm getting from you? Can you at least explain yourself? And our Lizzy just takes all the knives in the world and starts butchering him. She's like, first of all, Mr. Darcy, you can't confess your love by insulting the person. Second, you deprived my sister of a good gentleman and good prospects. Thirdly, what you did with Mr. Wickham is inexplicable. And lastly, if you were the last man on earth, I will not marry you. He takes a step back and is like, whoa, I didn't think you thought of me this slow. And he leaves with a shattered heart and a bruised pride. He was too taken aback to be able to defend himself. He didn't think he would be met with such a strong refusal and such disgust. So he does what he knows best and writes a letter. Yes, guys, the letter I talked about in my intro. And I might have to disappoint you because there is no Gen Z reenactment of its content on my part. It is too beautiful, too perfectly crafted for me to paraphrase. I urge you guys to buy the book and read it for yourself. But I'll summarize it so we can move on. Basically, Darcy only took away Mr. Bingley from Jane because he believed him too in love and her too detached. Because Jane is a shy, reserved person, she seemed to Mr. Darcy and to Mr. Bingley's sisters to be indifferent and merely polite. He was just protecting his friend from a heartache. He explains his reasoning and apologizes for misunderstanding her. As for Mr. Wickham, he turned out to be a snake. He's a con artist. Took Darcy's money, wasted it, then went after his 16-year-old sister for her inheritance. So all in all, Mr. Darcy redeemed himself. Well, to me at least. Elizabeth is still angry. But Darcy, why don't we just forget about her and let's go to the dock and have a chat? Wink wink, a violent reference. Finally, after 6 weeks, she returns to her home with Jane. Lydia, her younger sister, is set to go to Brighton with Mrs. Foster for the summer. You might be thinking, Iman, why are you talking about Lydia? You never mentioned her before. Well, that's because she increasingly becomes a very important character in the storyline, thanks to her foolish decisions. Elizabeth is set to go on a few days tour with her uncle and her aunt, and one of the destinations is Pemberley, Darcy's residence. And that's how the second volume of this book ends. I'm sure you're excited to hear about Elizabeth's visit to Pemberley, Lydia's stupidity, and how Mr. Darcy is going to save the day. But I must end the video here and leave you to reflect on what was said. And we'll resume next Sunday to talk about the third and final volume of this book. What are you thinking? Are we starting to warm up to Darcy? Where do we think their relationship is headed? What of Jane and Mr. Bingley? And what did Lydia do? Stay tuned for next week's video to find out. And I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.